We're good.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the OS Talk. Today is November 2nd, 2016. As the OWC looms closer to us, we have a great interview with one of our featured artists today. His name is Helblinde. How you doing, man?
I'm doing perfectly fine, except from, being super tired of, working on music all day. But I'm here, and, I'm excited.
I guess you can sing a beat.
Oh, yeah.
And not to mention, to mention beats, we have our co-host with the most deadbeat. How you doing, man?
I'm not sorry.
He's sorry, not sorry. So obviously, you know how that works. Everybody, we've got a great one set up today. We have not as many questions on our end, so we're definitely going to be looking forward to having the community ask. We're going to run through the ones we do have. Obviously, our first one's pretty simple, Helblinde. It's just, how did you find us?
That's a pretty good question. I think I actually had a friend I played Counter-Strike with since I used to compete in Counter-Strike back in the day. We started playing Stepmania, and then one day he said that he had found this great game. You can use your mouse and you can click stuff. And I went, okay, that sounds pretty nice. That was 8 years ago, I think. So that was my first touch and my first love, which only lasted for like a month. But the game was back then. It's not really what it is today. When people say that some maps are bad today, you should see back then it was pure quality.
Oh yes, the highest.
We had James. How much higher could you get?
No, but it was enjoyable, and I used it as warm-up even when I went to LAN events. I used it as a warm-up. I always downloaded it and played it before big games. So that's how I got introduced to it. And of course, since I'm just a little bit of a weeb, it helped bring him into the game.
Oh, for sure. And, it's kind of a running theme. We've noticed, we've asked this question literally to everyone we interview, 47 talks in, and it's usually, there's a very distinct connection. Usually you're either playing Stepmania, Counter-Strike, and it's funny how many people played Counter-Strike before they found this, and they just feel that they have to note that. It's I played Counter-Strike. And I know way back in the day, people that were real good at Counter-Strike used to think, oh, that's going to make me so good at us because my headshot game is OP, so I'm going to be able to just click these circles perfectly. And, it didn't
I thought the same. So guess I did the same mistake.
Yeah. And it's something that just happens a lot. Counter-Strike, I've heard people MapleStory, all kinds of different games, but Stepmania definitely something that we see a lot. So that being said, when you found OS, you played it way back. So we're talking 8 years ago. You played it for a month. When you did that, did you have any prior rhythm game experience before that? Was there anything you touched base on prior to us, or was it just oh, hey, here's this circle game about music, now I'm interested in music games?
I played Stepmania before. I could pass maybe Dragon Force maps, Through the Fire and Flames was the thing back then. At least for me, I was super proud of being able to pass it. And then I bought a pad that I started playing a little bit, but then I realized I had to put an effort into moving, which was not really that fun. So, and then the pad broke. It costed me $300, and back then it was a lot to me. And it broke after 2 weeks.
Was it a Steel Force pad?
Yes.
Oh God! And it broke on you in 3 weeks. Yeah. I'd be asking for a refund of some sort. That's ridiculous. Those things are supposed to be able to take an ass beating.
Yeah, but it really didn't. Maybe I was so terrible that I stomped too hard or something. I'm not sure, but
yeah,
it was a mess anyway. So, but that's how I came into it. I knew rhythm games, so also kind of together with aiming, it was kind of fun.
And would you say that rhythm games helped with your music experience? This is just an off question. Deadbeat's going to get the next two, but would you say that rhythm games helped with your music experience, or did your music experience help you with rhythm games?
I'd say both.
It's a little mix of both.
Yeah, like I got a lot of inspiration from artists that were in rhythm games to begin with. So I grabbed a lot of inspiration from that, and then I have slowly been starting to adapt my music to the rhythm games because I noticed that I had a fan base there.
Yeah. And for most that might not think, music is really, like, rhythm games is simplistic. Now that you mess with music and you've been messing with it, you know that it's way more complex than actually just setting up rhythm games. And I see people talking all the time. They're like, oh, if you can do 1/4 and 1/8 and all this other stuff in Oz, you basically can compose. No, because the actual algorithms, and you might want to explain this for other people, Helblinde, but like the actual 1/2, 1/4, 1/6, 1/8 in Oz isn't actually musical measures, is it?
No, not. The thing with also, I don't know if it's programmed a little bit differently. I'm not sure exactly how it is in Osu though, because I haven't mapped, so I'm not sure if it's true what you're saying or not. But you might be right.
Yeah, I think it's like, I can't remember, because one time me and a friend of mine went into a really long discussion over it, and I opened up FL Studio, and like the measures for OS are actually like made way easier than, you know, it's based off quarter beats per measure. Yeah, there you go. Start.
Oh yeah, that might make sense. But yeah, and then usually you swap in between, and so it's a lot different than if you know how to map. Then sure, you might have a bit of a rhythm sense, but there's a lot more going into it than that. Obviously.
I thought I was the hot stuff, you know. Got a couple ranked maps. I'm like, I can make my own music. It came out sounding like really bad. It was pretty like garbage.
We all start from somewhere, right?
Yeah, very true.
I'm actually curious, during your 6 years of downtime, did you actually try any other rhythm games?
I mean, a little bit of Stepmania. That kind of stuck with me for some time. Then I had a period when I didn't play any rhythm games at all. And then also I knew about the game, so I revisited it from time to time. But I was terrible. I played with a mouse. I mean, not saying that mouse players are terrible, because there's some really good ones, but I was a terrible mouse player. It wasn't until like 2 years ago when I decided to buy a tablet. And for me, it's more enjoyable playing that like that, just doing jumps and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people find tablets easier in general. Actually, I'll stick with the mouse though.
Yeah, I wouldn't say easier, as it's about muscle memory, but there's some things that are like tracking with mouse, I would say is easier, honestly. But everything else is easier with a tablet, at least to me.
Yeah, I've always said the reason for tablet being easier is because muscle memory actually holds more of a standing. As with mouse, it's something where it doesn't have a defined area to move in. Like, you can pick it up and drop it, and then the defined area is somewhere completely different. As to where with a tablet, if you have the proper drivers and stuff installed, you'll have absolute positioning. So that means no matter what, if you move your pin up to the top right corner, it's always going to be in the top right. You know, and I feel like that's one other thing. Like, muscle memory really plays a better part in the tablet because it's never going to change position unless you edit its active area.
And that's exactly the reason why I got the tablet.
Yeah, and not plugging OS tablets. I'm actually looking at my Bamboo right now.
But I mean, you can still go get one if you want.
Yeah, you can if you want, but like I'm looking at my beautiful CTH 470, and I'm like I'm okay with it.
I got the CTL 470.
Yeah. All right, Deadbeat. So if you want to grab the next two questions here, go for it, and we'll get along with those so we can keep things moving. And excuse me, sorry about that.
Sure. So next one we kind of want to ask is, when about did you actually start making music?
I think I started when I was like 14. I wouldn't say that I made music. I bought a CD with Dance EJ, which back then it's a super simple, you had like pre-made loops that you just put together, and like every song sounded the same. If you go to YouTube and listen, like every song sounds exactly the same. And I kind of did it because, you know, I wanted to get some girls' attention. That was my original start with music, and I thought that instead I got attention from guys, so it didn't really work out the way I expected. And looking at my fan base now, it's like 99% male, so I kind of screwed up there. But then,
great reason.
But then I got FL Studio. Like, it was called just Fruity Loops when I was 18, I think. And I was like hungover one day, and me and my friends started like messing around with it, and that's when I created. He was just looking. I created the first Hardcore Frontiers version that is terrible, but it was a first, and that's how I got interested in into music production.
A lot of people start with the FL Studios.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to get into compared to some other like digital audio workstations, but it just has and there's a lot of tutorials as well. And even if there are a lot of tutorials to the other ones, there are the most to this. Like many beginning producers use it.
Yeah, because I think Zitro, you started with the FL Studios as well, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I mean, I haven't done anything super outstanding or amazing. I've done a couple video game song covers and stuff like that, but FL Studio puts it in a way that it's easy for me to understand the workspace and the way you can fragment each part individually and set it over layered. It's the simplest I've ever seen it done, so I kind of stick with it.
It's very much if you have done like graphic design or video editing before, and actually like if you are used to Photoshop, I would say it explains it perfectly. If you know Photoshop, you could learn FL Studio because it's basically layers, and then you have the full thing. So I had worked a little bit in Photoshop around that time as well, like the very first version. I don't even remember if it was, I can't remember which version, but it definitely helps.
Oh, for sure. I remember playing around with it on Fruity Loop 3 and then messing around with 4, I think, for a little bit. And then I just stopped messing with it till 10. I was like, done. And 10 was like, holy crap, really decent. And I always did the stuff out of the box. I didn't start messing with the other like drum loops, samples, stuff like that till later on. And I would have probably stuck with it if I didn't realize how much it just eats a hard drive. It will just devour your hard drive, especially if you go real crazy and just grab a whole bunch of samples. And back when I was making like video game remix things, I really, I don't like to admit it, but I had a really heavy Renard phase that I liked. So I went and grabbed like all that dude's samples because he had them up. And at first it didn't look like it was going to be that bad. It was like 20 gigs, and then it extracts and expands into like 80 or 90, and you're like, whoa. And that's just for like drum loops and transitions and edits. That's not even like actual VST plugins, like say for example Hypersonic or something like that. It's not even anything close to those. It's just literally folders of loops and samples and stuff.
I have contact libraries that are like 160 gigabytes, and it's mostly the orchestral stuff with violins and everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have a dedicated SSD that's, I think it's 300 gigs with samples and VSTs.
Yeah, and
That's a
like
lot.
it's not really when you get into it. I mean, it sounds like it's a lot, but when you're making stuff, you need like almost unlimited, because like you never know. Like with me, I'd always just play it out and I'd make it like in MIDI or something, and then I'd just go and edit it and throw the same piano roll into another instrument, and sometimes that works just fine, but other times, like if the instrument has holds and stuff, you have to go into the piano roll and change those beep 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 beeps to holds, so like the strings and stuff like that will work appropriately, and it can get ridiculous.
Indeed.
All right, Deadbeat, if you want to move on to that next question there, that'd be awesome.
Thanks for doing that. Why did you pick the genre that you picked? Like, what made you want to make anime remixes?
That's also a good question. I think I was very inspired by, like, especially the Sharpnel sound. Since I played a lot of Stepmania, and it was the first time I'd always been interested in electronic music to begin with, but I think I remember listening to his stuff when I went to school with my, like, walkie-talkie. I don't even know what it was back then, but like I had a CD that I burned with his songs.
Yeah, that probably was a walkie-talkie.
Yeah, so I kind of... A Walkman, yeah. So that's the reason I really liked his stuff, and from there I kind of went from that and started producing similar stuff. It wasn't the best decision to do if I wanted to, hook up with girls, considering no one watched anime back then. But, I really enjoyed it. It was super fun. And it's also one of those genres when you don't really have to pay attention to rules as much. You can just do whatever you want, because it's a very, like, free genre, I would say.
I actually haven't listened to much DJ Shrapnel lately. Like, what sort of stuff did you like of his back in the old days?
Pretty much everything he did. It's... did I have a favorite? No, not really. I remember, like, all of his stuff was great. There was something about this specific hard rave sound, and I remember Technorch was another dude who also did some pretty good stuff. There were a few others, Terranoid, and there were a few other. I can't really, like, come up with the names now, but
I can't say I know those ones. Sorry.
Now they were very underground, I would say. It's unless you're very into the old school Japanese hard rave music, it would be very hard to know who they are.
Yeah, I think for a while I wasn't really digging deep for that sort of stuff.
It was hard to find as well. If you didn't know where to find, I found it through Stepmania, and then I managed to find more, but it was super difficult finding new artists. Today you just go on SoundCloud and you can find 50 other producers who do the same thing. So
yeah, but didn't you hate that way back in the day? Like, you'd find one song that you just absolutely adore, and because Stepmania wasn't really good with the tagging system and whatnot, there was this one song I heard that it ended up being like a Toho song. Never found the artist for it, which really makes me mad because I normally don't like Toho music, but I really like this one. And I thought, okay, I'll just, like, go into the file and find out what this is. And it was just named lasermania.ogg, and all the information had been wiped off it. And I was just like, no.
Yeah, it reminds me of the good days of, like, LimeWire and Napster and all those kind of services. It was a mess.
LimeWire was horrible.
You'd be like, I want to listen to this new song. You get, hello and welcome. This is a 2-part tutorial on how to remove It'd be something stupid. It wouldn't be anything what you wanted.
They just renamed stuff. It was terrible. Yeah. It was the same with games and everything. You never knew what you downloaded. Like, it was...
That's
and
why
then half of the time you got the virus.
That's why I always did file size. I tried to, okay, here's this new song that I really wanted to hear, but wait a second, why is it only 10 kilobytes? That don't make a lot of sense. But at the very beginning, like when Napster very first came out, they didn't show the file sizes. They just had the names of it, stars to let you know how good it was, and a little trash bin if it was garbage. And like when new stuff came out, you never got. It was scary. It was a very dangerous time. Like, if there was still stuff like that out today, the internet would be a horrifying place, in my opinion.
I had to, like, reformat every week. I think I made so many mistakes that it's... And I never learned as well, because I really wanted something and I was like, okay, this might be legit. It was never legit.
Is this the one time it's real? Is this the one time?
and pray that the preview's right, and if the preview's not right, you just try to quickly delete it before it gets fully installed. And then if you're not quick enough, computer starts messing up.
I was not very smart back then.
No, I don't think any of us was. If anybody here can remember that, you messed up at least one computer using that software. Guaranteed. And if you didn't, you had a good idea of what you were getting into to
Or
begin
just dumb
with.
luck.
True.
I think dumb luck also plays quite a factor in that as well.
Dumb luck probably does. All right, though.
Just one more quick question on that. Do you remember what the first anime song you remixed was?
Oh, the first one. It wasn't. That was an original. I can actually check really quickly. Wait 1 second. I have to. I'm pretty sure it was. It was a song. It's actually not released. I remember releasing it back then, but it disappeared. It was a song from Hack, like Hack.
Ooh.
Like .hack. Which one was it? Sign, I think. It was one of the songs from there that I really liked. The remix itself was terrible, and I'm happy that it's gone from the internet, and I don't want anyone to listen to it. But it was the first one where I started remixing anime stuff. I really loved that series back then, so it was natural for me to kind of, okay, I want to do something with this. And that's also the first time when I started using samples.
I always meant to watch .hack, but I never got around to it.
I guess it's a bit hard to get into today, because you will compare it to other series of the same, like Sword Art Online. Yeah, and you will most likely think that .hack is worse, but
.hack was my favorite in all of them, in all honesty, but that's probably because I was around when it first came out. But I agree with you, like, new anime watchers or people that are new to that type of genre would see .hack and be like, this is slow. Where's all the action? Which it has action, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of moments where it's like trying to figure stuff out, what's going on and everything like that. And unfortunately, the attention span, and I'm not trying to diss anybody, but the attention span has definitely gone down here lately.
Yeah, I remember there being like entire episodes dedicated to just talking. I think there were 3 episodes in a row when nothing happened, they were just talking.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought it was super interesting because I was so into the world.
Yeah. I think that was, I'm trying to remember what that was, but I feel like that was a night conversation. Like, it started out with the knights, depending on which .hack you're talking about, but I'm assuming you're talking about the original and not any of the spin-offs.
Yes,
but,
exactly.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they were trying to find out who the guy was that was, like, murdering the people. And
Spoilers.
They thought yeah, spoilers, mild spoilers. But
Yeah,
they pretty
mild.
sure, I'm not going to say who it was, haha, but they were pretty sure that it was within their own order. So it was like 3 episodes of them talking about, like, who it could possibly be. And, like, it's really interesting, but, like, nowadays it's like, where's the particle effects? Where's the dyeing? Where's the kawaii girls with the big boobs? And, you know, it didn't have that. I miss old anime.
It stayed true to its
I do
roots
as well.
and didn't please people with stupid stuff.
Pretty much. All right, let's move on to the next question here. So, what song would you say, personally, you've had the most fun making?
I mean, it's going to be one of those answers where I'll say that any of the songs from the so-called Boner series that I have, there's just something about them. I guess Putin's Boner is the one that also players know mostly about. And those songs are made when I'm in a very creative mood and I just want to have fun. And usually I'm smiling like all the way through when I'm making it. I'm like, how the hell did I come out? I'm actually laughing when I'm doing it. So definitely Putin's Boner was amazing to make, and I guess it's one of my more popular songs now, and it kind of, if I'm happy when I'm doing stuff, those songs are usually the most popular ones, so
I think it was during one of the World Cup streams, one of them actually got played as a warm-up.
Oh really?
I think it was Zelda's Boner, I think it was.
Okay.
I was like, what? No!
That one is a little bit...
away.
That one is worse than Putin's Boner. Like it has more sexual content to it, so that's kind of weird that they did that. But
yeah, I'm surprised that one got through.
I mean, it's us community. Weird, kind of, runs hand in hand. But so the next question to go from
we actually get number 5. I think we skipped that one.
I just asked you, and you said, yeah, we were good on that one, because his last question kind of answered that one, so it was kind of redundant to ask it.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Alright, I am talking into the mic. I'm sorry. I leaned back. My bad. Okay. Anyways, let's see here. Would you say that Us has had any type of impact on your music, be it big or small, or was it other rhythm games that may have given you more inspiration for your music?
It has two sides to the coin. I think in terms of like popularity, the game has carried my career more or less. If the mappers never mapped my songs and it didn't really explode the way it did, I would not be where I am today. So, like, I'm really thankful to the community in general, and that's why I've never really bothered with copyright and stuff. I just want people to enjoy the songs. So on that side, absolutely. Now that I'm specifically making songs for Osa as an official Osa artist, I'm trying to, since it's going to be original songs that will be for that, I'm still making the remixes on the side so people can map that, but these are the official songs. So I'm trying to make music that are fun to play. I'm a decent Osa player. I'm not very good, but I kind of know what works and what doesn't, so I try to see what would work in terms of the build-ups, how to just build a track in general so it's fun to play. So I'd say it's also definitely affected a lot in my career.
Well, that's awesome to hear. And with that, I'll connect to the last one, and then I'll let Deadbeat get the other two, and we'll let the community open up for you. Now, have you ever had any early on influences or people that you've really wanted to collaborate with? And you could go ahead and list like the absolute craziest of ones, but is there anyone like in particular you'd love to make a track with?
I'm gonna guess DJ Shrapnel will be in there somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, of course, he was a major inspiration, and I got on one of his CDs not that long ago, and that was a big thing. I moved to Tokyo and lived there for a year as well, so I got to meet him and played at the same parties as he did, and it's kind of funny when you're 15 and you're listening to this, and then 10 years later you're in Japan playing with him. So that, of course, he was always a big inspiration, and I think we discussed collaborating at some point now, so it might happen. Except from him, another one that's really fun to collaborate with was Tanuki. I'm not sure if you know him, but he also makes Japanese hardcore remixes, and also under the name of Dill he makes Neurofunk. He's a super good producer, and I really enjoyed working with him. We did a remix together. But otherwise, I would love to do collabs in general. They don't have to be famous or anything. I don't really put like people on a pedestal, I guess. I just want to have people that really enjoy what they're doing, because it's so much more fun doing it. So I could do collabs with someone who has like no followers at all, as long as they're good and
passionate
enjoy what
about
they're
the
doing.
project. Yeah. I could understand that.
That's
All
something
right,
would have been
Deadbeat.
really cool to have actually met DJ Shrapnel. Like, that must have been a really big high point for you.
It was surreal. I didn't really understand that I could get to that point. I never really could. So it was when he wants your songs on his CD, for me that was okay. I've kind of made it now. And that also goes back to being followed by Course K and Norican and those producers on Twitter. Like, it's kind of weird when it's the people you've been looking up to all the time. And now I have people that are looking up to me who are saying the same thing. So whenever I give, advice or talk to them, they get really happy. So I'm trying to, kind of do the same to new producers and see if, because I know how much it meant to me, and it will probably mean the same to them.
Yeah, there's always like that feeling when you first start off where it's like, I really want to get to this place. But like, then you get there and then you get even further and you're like, how did I get here? I used to be back here and shit was horrible, and now I'm here and everything's great.
It just happens. It snowballs. It's really hard in the beginning when you're starting making music. You have no one to listen to your stuff, and that's the worst part of making music. The first bit. If you get past that bit and start having just a few friends who listen to your music, and then they link it to some friends, and more and more people come along, and towards the end now it has just snowballed. I get a lot of followers each day, and I don't do anything, so you just have to get over that initial bit.
I suppose that's where things like SoundCloud and stuff really come into play there.
Yeah, SoundCloud has helped, and Facebook, and now Twitter as well.
I do have one question though. At any point when you got any of these emails in your collaboration, like when it finally sank in that, hey, you were going to go do this and you were going to be able to live and go see one of your idols and work with them, did you squeal like a fangirl at any point?
I was more shocked than anything. Like, I couldn't think, basically. I was just sitting there thinking, okay, well, the first reaction was, well, that's nice. And then it took maybe a day before it really settled in. It really took...
How nervous were you on the plane ride over? I'd imagine. Like, that would probably be, like, pretty...
I mean, it wasn't... I moved there to study to begin with, so
yeah.
I had other things to worry about at the same time. So but of course, I was nervous.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. You didn't let it consume you, though, and that's a good thing, because, like, I remember a couple times I've been in situations where I got to see some people I didn't think I'd be able to see, and I feel like I probably should have handled it better. I pretty much have the problem of nerding up when it's somebody really big. But, outside of that, it's always really great. But I just remember my biggest thing was when I was taking a plane to go, like, the whole time my nerves were shot. And it's not like... No, if I met Peppy in real life, I'd just give him a hug and pick him up and throw him on my shoulders. Like,
just kidnap him.
I want to say that.
Just throw him over your shoulders and just walk off.
But yeah, he probably would call me a wanker and be like, "Put me down," and I'd be like, "No, I ain't going to hold you." Anyways,
I mean,
right,
if I can just like fill in a little bit.
Yeah, go for it.
I think in my case as well, I had played Counter-Strike before and competed, like before I moved to Japan, I'd played at the very highest level, so I was already kind of famous in those kind of circles. And I know for a fact that, like, it's just people, like even Sharpnel, who I looked up to, it's just a person. And I feel that whenever you get like super excited and you kind of, I don't really like that. I think it's...
No, you lose sight of what's important.
Yeah, that's why I always tell when people get like overly excited to talk to me, I'm just a normal human being like you. It's just that I've been doing this for 10 years. That's the only difference. Anyone can get to the point I am. I would say that people will get further than me if they put in the time, because I've been lazy at times.
I can relate to this a bit too much as well. I had like one person come up to me and ask the other day and said, "Oh yeah, this guy wanted me to say hi for him." I'm like, why doesn't he just do that himself? He's scared. But Why?
But I cannot. I mean, you can understand it is, especially with younger people. I think when you haven't really learned, and you look up to people a lot more than you might do later in life. But just remember that it's just normal people. You can talk to them normally. You don't have to make that big of a fuss of it.
I mean, like, everyone's just a normal person. Sometimes people make a really big deal out of this sort of stuff. I just never understand it.
For sure.
All right. Let's go ahead and get those last two questions so we can open it up to the community. We'll run it a little bit longer because I do want the community to get as many questions as they can. I felt like we kind of short-ended them on the stick last time, and we're kind of going over this time, so we'll make sure you guys get at least 30 minutes of continuous question asking, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely.
All right, awesome. Okay, so Deadbeat, run through these last two real fast, and then we'll open this up to the community.
Alright, so, first one, easy one. Now that you've been listed as an official artist for OS, how did that feel when you got that offer?
It was fantastic because at the point I was in a very rough path. I've been the last couple of years I've been struggling with my health, and I had kidney failure, and due to that I had to go through chemotherapy, and then due to that I got depression, and then I was kind of losing motivation to make music, and I announced that I was going to quit because I felt like nothing was working out. And then Peppy just approached me and said that he would love to have my music in the game. And then along with that I got a lot of emails telling me stories about how they have always enjoyed my music and what it has saved them from killing themselves and stuff like that. So at that point I just decided, to keep on doing it. So I'm super thankful to being able to make music for the game.
I think I was actually there at the... I think you said that on your live stream, didn't you? I think I might have been there at that point.
Yeah, I've mentioned this before.
I think it was the first time I checked out your live stream, and you dropped this massive announcement oh. Well, that sucks.
Yeah, it was a mess. The worst part was that I was supposed to play at the party that DJ Sharpnell, this was when I lived in Japan. He made this massive event, and I was one of the headliners for the event together with him. And my kidneys just completely stopped working. And then I had to stay in a hospital for 3 weeks in Tokyo, and then they flew me back home. So I missed everything that I had looked forward to for a year, which was kind of helped with the depression bit. It really, you had been working for 10 years to something, and then because of health issues it just it's gone. It's not gone, as I could still go back. But at that point it really felt kind of shitty.
Yeah, I can imagine that would have been a very difficult time. Is that correct? I think you got a few offers at the same time, didn't you?
In what, offers to what?
To make music and stuff, but at the same time Pippi offered you.
Yeah, I mean, I got a few other offers for other rhythm games as well, so I'm kind of... Right now I'm focusing on also for the next release, but in the future I might be doing for other games as well. So yeah, I got a lot of offers. I guess it was because I opened up, so I appreciated all the support I got.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry about that. Some crazy stuff. I don't mind saying it here, but for some reason there's a giant police blockade outside of our trailer park. Woo!
They found you.
Wow.
Oh yeah, they found me. Oh no, need to run.
Anyway,
never
we'll move away from that and we'll go on to the last question we have, which was, can we expect any cool stuff anytime soon?
Yes. I'm releasing a new album in December. Actually on Christmas.
Oh.
And it's going to be both originals, and those are going to be for Osso, and remixes, the normal stuff that I do. I guess people will map that as well, but for the official stuff, it's original songs. And I think I've taken a massive leap in production. I'm working every day, like 10 hours a day. So I believe it's going to be the best thing I've ever done. And I'm already super proud of it.
I'm very excited to hear it. Also, Helblinde, before we open it up, there was one question I wanted to ask. Would it be okay for your talk? If you've ever looked at the talks before, we do usually feature music from OC Remix, but every once in a while we do use OC music. Would it be okay if we played some of your previous works over the talk for the audio this time?
Yeah, no worries. That's absolutely.
Detroit is just going to grab like all of the One Punch Man remixes and just plaster it all throughout the floor.
Yeah, you can use whatever. Like if you need something that you haven't, like some of the remixes, I can send them to you. So.
All right.
Just quickly, one more thing though. Because I did ask if you got some cool stuff coming. We do actually have, for those of you who don't know, there are actually 4 brand new Helblinde tracks on the new site. So we've got Beyond Life, Maria, Reborn, Rewrite Nightmare, Summer Lights. Which of those would you say is your favorite?
Ooh. I think Rewrite Nightmare is my favorite. It's a song that I've played at every gig I've ever had, and it's a little bit harder, so if you're not into the hard kind of French core kind of style, then and it has vocal samples from Lane, like Serial Experiment Lane. So I'd say that's my favorite out of those. I like all of them. They're a little bit different, all of them. So one is UK hardcore, one is Frenchcore, one is trance. Actually, 2 are kind of trance-ish. So I think there will be like things for everyone to enjoy.
Yeah, it's always good having like a nice variety of stuff to be able to map.
Yeah, it's going to be the same on the originals coming in December. There's a lot of variety to the songs.
Anyway, I think with that we will go into the community Q&A then.
All right. And just to give everybody an update on how we're going to do this, we will keep on recording. We're going to get 10 minutes of community questions on this recording, and then what we're going to do is break the recording, start it up again, and have a runoff special. That way you guys do get your questions showed up, but we're not going over our hour mark.
We're good about 15, 20 minutes left.
Yeah.
We're at the 42-minute mark, so.
Yeah, okay. All right, so, we just want to make sure that everybody gets a question here. Now, if you have a vocal question, please go ahead and go at. I'm going to let Kianko get the first one, as she's right next to me, and she's been waiting. Feel free, just talk into the microphone, honey.
Okay. How many terabytes of storage do you have?
That's a good question. I have, let me check quickly, 3 terabytes.
He has 3 terabytes of
Oh
storage.
damn, I've only got 1.
I have a lot of secret stuff, so, you know.
That's a point. It's a disappointingly small amount. I was expecting a lot more because all those samples.
I'm disappointingly small, you know. It's what it is.
Oh God. Okay.
Moving along.
Watson, no. All right. Thank you so much for the question, Kianko.
Thank you.
And we'll get to our next question. I do believe Meep said they had a vocal question that they wanted to say. Is that correct?
I asked him, I didn't reply, so.
Well, we're seeing typing now. No, where did my question on top? What?
Perfect English.
Okay.
Great job. I have no idea what that means, sorry.
Okay,
we
so
got another song that's similar to the remix you did on Ritsuing.
Oh, like the specific style, or... I mean, I've kind of evolved from that style. Like, from a technical standpoint, I don't think I will ever create something that sounds exactly the same. But in terms of, like, happy hardcore kind of style, then yes, there will be more of that. Especially in this release, I think I'm doing something very similar. But obviously, since it's been like 5 years since I since I made it, I think 5 or 6 years, it's going to sound a little bit different, but it's going to be the same, kind of, yeah.
I think people like it, because I think Ritual was like one of the songs that like really got Helblinde on throughout Ost.
Yeah, it was pretty much that, you know, happy 30, you know, I have to thank him for him, like I'm still speaking to him to this day, so thank you for that.
There were a few other smaller ones, like the one I mentioned, the Frontier 2011 one.
Yeah, that one, I think that was around the same time as Ritson.
But yeah, I think Ritual was the one that like, whoa, this Helblinde guy, gotta find his stuff.
And then, yeah, that, and the rest is unranked, so for a reason, I suppose.
Well, there are a few other ones, I think,
For Mania, I know that there are.
oh no, I can't remember what it was called. I know a New Zealander got one of your maps, well, one of your songs ranked. I cannot remember what it was called.
Oh yeah, Above the Clouds.
That's the one.
Yes, that's true. I'm happy they mapped that, because it's one of my favorites, so.
Okay, so we actually have a question from EXE that I could see. It's a text one. They ask, will you be doing another song that's somehow similar to Grief and Malice?
Oh, I hope
And then we do have a Spaghetti vocal question after that.
Regarding Grief and Malice, yes, there's... The album that is coming is a little bit darker than the other ones I've done. They have some more darker themes to it, so I would say that there's 2 or 3 songs that have a similar style to it. So yeah, there's gonna be more of that.
excellent, because I really did enjoy Grief and Malice.
All right. Thank you so much for that question. We'll go ahead and grab, I guess we're going to give them Starrod, then Spaghetti.
Yeah, Kirby said he had
Stefan.
something at the start.
All right.
What's up? What's up?
All right. Hi. Hello. Oh my gosh. So it's amazing to listen to this interview overall. One of my favorites has to be A Revatel's Curse, and that it's just so moving for one, and that's definitely a really great one right there. Now, initially, I had a funny question that we were kind of talking about prior. I mean, who's your best K-On girl and why is it Yui? No, just kidding. But rather, I'm wondering about, like, would you be open to, say, maybe releasing any of your new originals or something on something like Spotify, for instance, or like any like kind of music services in that, or would just Bandcamp just be, those sort of ideas?
That's a good question. First of all, Asunyan is better. Secondly, I'd say Spotify is a no-go, but YouTube, the originals will be up on YouTube. I had some copyright issues. I had a YouTube account with a lot of subs, and it got banned because of copyright issues.
Oh no, the strikes!
Yeah, 3 strikes, like in one day basically, and they weren't really deserved, but I couldn't really do anything about it back then. But yeah, Spotify is the problem with that is they don't give you any revenue at all. Like, that's why people don't really like Spotify anymore.
There's some controversy surrounding those, I imagine, for sure.
Yeah, so I'll stick to YouTube when it comes to originals. I think YouTube, SoundCloud, and Bandcamp is where the songs are gonna be at. If there's a different service that I find that are good, then I'll take into consideration to upload them there as well.
Wonderful. I would love to support you in the future.
Thank you, man. I would appreciate that, man.
All right. Thank you for that question, Star. Now, Spaghetti has a vocal question that they wanted to ask. Are you ready for that, Spaghetti? All right. Go ahead and unmute Spaghetti.
I did.
All right, Spaghetti, you're unmuted, so you can unmute yourself and go ahead and ask that question.
I said yes when you asked me if I was ready, and I felt like an idiot afterwards.
It's okay.
Congratulations, well done.
So, my question was, like, what was your idea when you were watching Pola Magi, Madoka Magica, or whatever? I'm going to pronounce it wrong. Like, that made you say, oh, like, I need to make this into a song. Like, what kind of ticked off in your head saying, oh, this is great, this is great music material?
I mean, I love the series overall, and the soundtrack was amazing. Like, sure, the story was a little bit generic, I'd say. I had watched, I think, Steins Gate before that, so it kind of tied together really weirdly. But just the art direction and the music, it touched something within me at least. And usually when I do remixes of anime stuff, it has to evoke some kind of emotion in me to get that inspiration going, and like knowing what samples to use from what parts. And I really got this dark kind of vibe from the entire series that I adored. So that's basically the reason.
Yeah, I remember watching the first episode, and oh my god, it was so trippy.
The thing that like stuck out for me was like when that was like my third or fourth anime, because I had recently gotten into it, and a friend was like, "Oh, I can't wait to watch you suffer through this," and I was like, "What is he talking about?" And I watched it, and I just fucking like everything about me just collapsed. Like because I'd never really like watched anime before. Like I know of Steins Gate, but I don't know what it's about, and I just got hit with feelings left and right, and like. But the weirdest part for me was I had heard Grief and Malice before watching it, so when I heard Cispla Magica play in the background for the first time, I kind of had to stop for a second, and I was like, what is going on? Like, things were coming full circle for me. Like, your music had hit me before I'd even watched the anime, so...
It's great that you mentioned that, because a lot of people say that they've started watching anime and they realize that, wait, I recognize this song, and then they go back and okay. And some people even watch anime because of certain songs that I remix. So it's super cool to see that people recognize it.
Also, for those of you in chat who aren't quite sure what we mean by the magical girls being like suffering lots and stuff, you really need to see the series to kind of understand where we're coming from with that.
Being Maguka.
Oh.
Yeah, you should definitely watch it.
Some of that was pretty heavy to watch. It really was.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your question, Spaghetti. We did have another question from White Fang. I'm going to assume that's how you wanted your name. And then we got Stefan with a question as well. Let me see here. Stefan, was that going to be voice? Or is that going to be voice? Okay, and White Fang, yours was text. So we'll go ahead and grab the text, and his is real simple. Helblinde, they just ask, what are your top favorite VST plugins?
Oh, I have so many though. It depends on if it's for mastering or compressors or what. But I'll take the ones that like the synths, which I post. The ones that I use mainly right now is Serum, Dune 2. And then I love to use Valhalla Shimmer for everything. It's a reverb plugin that sounds fantastic. But most of my leads and everything is Dune 2. And then Serum on the side. Except from that, I have contact libraries for the orchestral stuff, including the pianos that I love using in my songs. If there's more of a specific... let me just check quickly. I used to use Silent One back in the day, but it has a lot of issues, so I stopped using it. But mainly, I use Massive as well for some of my bass lines, because it has this... It's easy to work with Massive. So those are the main three that I use.
All right, thank you for that question, White Fang. And then we'll move on to Stefan's voice question. So here you go. Welcome, Stefan.
Did I hear like a little hype-ish beeple?
I did hear a hype-ish beep beforehand, but are you there, bud?
I don't think he is. I think he did.
No, he said sec.
No, he's
It's the mic.
It's a mic, yeah.
Stefan is just like eating cereal.
He's super dead. We'll just ignore his question and move on to someone else, I think.
All right, and then we had another one here. Zev asks, will you be making any songs that are longer than 5 minutes?
Oh, now it works.
Oh.
I unplugged it for some reason. It was connected to the camera. Good job.
Alright.
Anyway, it's kind of random, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Have you like experimented with genres like downtempo or something?
Oh, if I've ever done that?
Yeah, obviously.
Oh, I mean,
like the chill stuff.
it could have been you, you know. Yeah, I have been playing around with it. There is one remix that I did that's kind of down tempo. The remix from like Drakengard 3, like "The Silence Is Mine." It's kind of down tempo. I like doing more slow stuff as well. So I'm experimenting with it, but until I get to the point where I can put out something that I think is good enough, it's going to take some time until we get to that point. But I'm playing around with it, absolutely.
So you will be working with it, or will you be making some songs for an album that is downtempo or something, or will you just make it for the fans?
In the future, most likely, it will. I'd say, how long does it take me to? Maybe in 6 months or so, I would say. Since it is something I play around with, but it's not. I don't have a finished project or anything. I need to do more stuff until I get to that point.
Of course. Oh, and also one last thing.
I think we've got some other questions to get to.
Yeah, but it's just like I have to ask this question.
Yeah,
How
but
long
we've
do
got
you
time
actually
afterwards.
use?
We should let other people get their questions done and done.
Fine.
They'll have time
Yeah,
later.
We'll
Okay.
get back to you, Stefan, we promise.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, so Zeb's question was just, do you plan on making anything longer than 5 minutes?
I mean,
Really had,
I'd
really.
say yes. I'd say yes because one of the songs on the next album is longer than 5 minutes.
There you go.
Well, I mean,
So
there's, like,
definitely, but I don't really think about the time. Sometimes I cut down songs because I don't want to fill songs up with too much repetitiveness. I could do it, but I feel like it's never really been my thing to fill it out with extra stuff. I like to have every part being
Interesting.
yeah, exactly. So if something goes past 5 minutes, then it will.
Just as a heads up, earlier I mentioned the 4 new tracks. Summer Light is just under 6 minutes, so I guess that also answers that.
Yeah, I think trance songs or stuff, those will be longer because they're lower BPM. The high BPM 200 stuff, like no matter how much I put in, it's usually never goes longer than 4 minutes because of the speed, so.
Yeah, because Rewrite Nightmares is 5 minutes 9 seconds, and Beyond Life is 4 minutes 53 seconds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I said, like the time I never pay attention to it at all.
All right. Well, and then the last question we have here at the moment is from EXE, and they ask, is there going to be a song of yours that you'll ever be dedicating to someone? And if yes, who is it?
I mean, I'd say my girlfriend, if anything. I haven't done anything for her in terms of music yet, but I mean, it might happen at one point. We might actually do some collaborations together because she's a super good pianist. So, if anything, then I spoil the surprise. It would be for her, but
All right. And the
I'm
final
maybe something for my dad as well. I
Yeah.
started learning to play the guitar, and I'm considering like getting good enough to play something for him because he loves 80s rock and stuff like that. So.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome too. I'm a big 80s rock fan myself. Also, the last silly question here is, did you ever get any MP3s or recordings from Aros Games singing Brainpower to make the track? Or is that yet to be discovered?
I didn't know that people did sing it.
I don't think anybody has at this moment, but it might be a possibility. Oh wait, I guess they did?
Oh, there is.
There is. I don't check the Reddit too much. I know, slap me in the head, but yeah, I don't really mess with Reddit all so much.
Well, then that needs to happen. I guess I can throw it in after I'm done with the album. So after Christmas sometime, I can start working on something.
Bada bing, bada
Because
boom, guys.
I did promise it, so I have
You
to.
heard it here first.
gonna be like World Cup material.
It's gonna happen. All right. So, anyways, it looks like we've gotten most of our questions asked, and it looks like we're right about at the time that we need to.
Yep.
Of course, if Helblinde is obliged to, which he doesn't have to, he could be like, no. But if you guys had some other questions that you'd like to ask, at the end of these talks, we usually go up for a few minutes, and he can just converse with everybody, try to be calm and respectable, obviously. But we're going to go ahead and wrap this one up, guys. Thank you so much, Helblinde, for coming out and talking with us today. It was great to get to know a little bit about the music creation process from you and get a little bit of insight on how things were with you finding us. I really enjoyed it.
It was great being here. Thank you for having me.
Not a problem. And remember, guys, you'll be able to see this. It might not come out as soon as you'd like. We are getting closer to the World Cups, so we will be a little bit tied down. As you know, Deadbeat and myself are commentators for the World Cup, and we help keep that thing running as smooth as possible. Remember, guys, Rhythm's only a click away, and we'll see you really soon. And have a good one.